Hey everybody, welcome to Alma Para Awakenings. I'm really glad you stopped by today. I have a story for you, and it's kind of a transition story, but I think it might be my transition story. And I don't mean in the death of my human person as much as I mean the death of yet another part of my ego. So I want to tell you this story that happened yesterday. My daughter and I, and my other daughter, my daughter-in-law, and my friend, and my pseudo son all went to dinner last night, and we had a really enjoyable dinner. We had an enjoyable day. Everybody's here on vacation, and we went walking around some of the places in Wilmington, and it was just a really good day. Everybody was happy. And of course, because everybody knows me, we went to tacos for dinner. And there is this really good place, taco place that we all enjoy eating at. So all of us went to eat dinner there. And we had to take two separate cars because there was quite a few of us. But when we were leaving after our really, really good dinner, there was this man that my daughter and I noticed, Marissa and I noticed, because we parked on one side of the building. So on that side of the building, you can see this intersection. So we saw this man crossing the street from the other side and kind of walking in front of the taco place. And we watched him because he was about maybe 5 feet tall, um, but he obviously was about 5 feet tall because he had like shrunken a little bit. Like you could tell that he was old, obviously. He had on these red pants and he had on compression socks, those compression socks. And then he had on a gray long sleeve t-shirt, like shirt, and he had a like a cap on his head. And you could tell, or you could assume by what you saw, that he was homeless. But anyway, he was walking very, 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 very slowly. Um, and it appeared as though he had a walker and he was using the walker to kind of walk himself. And it also appeared that on the walker there was like all of his belongings in bags. And so we watched him because he was really slow. And there's this one tree outside of the taco place where sometimes homeless people will stand there or sit there. And I think they do that so that if somebody comes out of the restaurant, maybe they will buy them a meal. And so we've done that before, like bought a meal for people sitting by the tree. And so I said to my daughter, I go, well, if he sits by the tree, like I'll go in and get him some tacos or something. So it took him quite a while, and he crossed where the tree is, but he kept going. And I was like, oh, maybe he doesn't want to eat. I'm like, well, maybe we should give him money. And my daughter's like, yeah, maybe we should. And then as I'm waiting to see like where is he going, because there's a grocery store that's like right next to the taco place. And I'm like, well, let's wait and see like where he's going. And so he did end up passing the taco place. And then this car was wanting to, because he was in the street, like in the parking lot street. And so this car wanted to like come this way. And instead of waiting for the man, who again was really, really slow on this walker, um, the person just like, if this is the man, then the person just like went like that and like went around the guy and came pretty close, like close enough that he could have clipped the guy. And I saw that the old man kind of went in because he knew that the car was going to do that. And so that's when I was like, oh my God, that's like awful. So I pulled back into the parking spot where we were, and I took money out of my wallet and I got out of the car and I went over to where the man was. And I went up to him and I said, hello, sir. I go, can I help you with something? He goes, what do you think you can help me with? And I go, well, I have a little bit of money I can share with you. And he says, well, I never say no to money. And I said, okay. So I gave him the money. Now, when I got close, one of the things I noticed is that, in fact, that was not a walker. It was one of those carts that you use when you are going to bring groceries home from the store. And so there's like wheels on the bottom, and then there's hooks that you can hook the bags on. And so it wasn't a walker, it was like to carry your groceries. And so I looked down as I'm speaking with him, and I realized that the things in the bags are not his, they're not his belongings. It looks like in these bags are like rocks, like heavy rocks. And then I realized, oh my gosh, that's like not a walker. That's to carry groceries. But you know, if he doesn't have it to balance on, he's going to fall over. And now I'm putting the pieces together and realizing that these rocks are in there so that if he loses his balance, he won't fall backwards, because I don't think he can get up if he falls backwards. He would, like the weight on the front of this baggage carrier thing, would keep him standing up. And so I was like, oh my God, it kind of broke my heart. So I asked him, how are you doing today? And when he looked at me, I noticed that um, he couldn't see very well, in one eye, and then in the other eye, well, it was blind, and you could tell it was blind, and you could tell that trauma had happened to it or something, because it was like this yellow kind of color over his eye and his eyeball, and I could tell that he couldn't see out of that eye. And so he tried to pay attention to how much money was in his hand, because he wasn't sure. And I think that's because he couldn't see really good out of the other eye either. And so I told him how much money I had, for him. And he goes, well, that's good. He goes, because I'll tell you something. He goes, I wanted a fucking beer. And then I go, he kind of made me laugh. And I go, you wanted a beer? And he's like, yeah, I went to the store. He goes, I bought all of my medicine and it's really expensive. And so out of my medicine money, I was saving money, and I saved money, enough money to go get a beer. And I just wanted a fucking beer. And he kept saying it. And it was so funny because he was like, he goes, I went to the convenience store. There's this little like liquor store, convenience store on the corner, like kind of where he came from. And he goes, I was at the store and I tried to buy a beer, but the cashier doesn't like me or something. And she wouldn't give me the beer. And she told me to get out of the store. And, it takes me a minute to get out of the store. And I couldn't get out of the store. And I don't know why she just wouldn't give me my fucking beer. And he goes, I was so angry at her. And then all of a sudden I have this flash, and the flash pops into my third eye, and it's my spirit. And my spirit, of course, reminds me of a time where I felt really, really similar to what this man was feeling. And just to give you a real quick story, I had a really bad day at work. I went to go pick up Brittany when she was little, and I had gone to the same gas station every day for like 5 years. So, like, everybody that worked there knew me, but there was a new cashier in there, and the owner was in there. And I just went in and asked for my cigarettes. And that was around the time that the government wanted everybody to have the check for their photo ID if they were going to get tobacco products if they were over 18. And she carded me, and I was like, I am 28 years old, 27 years old. If you could just give me my pack of cigarettes, that would be really good. Well, she wouldn't give me the cigarettes. And then the owner is like, yeah, I know, Nikki, you can just give her cigarettes. And she's like, no, I need to card her. So she like disobeyed the owner of the establishment. So then I got irate and I started yelling at the lady, and I basically pulled her over the counter and told her that she was going to give me my pack of cigarettes. And the police came and everything. And, that was before my spiritual awakening. And that was way before I knew how to control rage. And rage knew way better how to control me. But in any case, I ended up getting my cigarettes that day, and had to speak with the police officer and whatnot. However, what I'm trying to express is that as I'm talking to this man who is blind in one eye, has a beard almost down to the middle of his chest, a cap on, blind in one eye, this walker thing with stones making it heavy enough so he doesn't fall over, and watching people skirt around him, get irritated with him, get angry with him, complain that he's too slow, and drive around him the way that this person drove around him. Um, there we were, me and him, bitching about not getting our cigarettes and our beer. And I realized in that moment that Jesus is right. We are all the same. And I had actually a fun conversation because I shared with him how one time that happened to me too with a pack of cigarettes. But as I was sharing this with him, I realized that how unlikely that we would have ever met under any other scenario other than today. And I enjoyed his conversation with me. And so we were both angry about our situations, or I was reminiscing about how angry I was that day. And I said, I'll tell you what really helped me is like I just pray to Jesus and I tell Jesus, take this rage away from me. And I just need a cigarette or give me a beer, or it's actually whatever you need to calm your soul and whatever you need to make you feel better. If you just trust that the Lord will provide that for you, He will. And so I was telling this to this man, and I said, I go, why don't we just pray and we can ask Jesus to keep all the assholes away from you so that when you want a fucking beer, you can have a fucking beer. And he's like, yeah, that would be great. And so we just said, Jesus, help us so that people let us, receive the things that we need to receive, or the things that, calm our soul. And something really interesting happened is that, the whole time he was mad, and he was like, well, he wasn't mad. I think he was happy that we were having a conversation, but he kept looking at me like, like if you look at a friend and you're bitching about your day, like that's just what he was doing. It was like he just needed to unload his day, and I get it. And so he unloaded his day. So I can kind of say, like, here we are, two friends just bitching about our day. And, and our facial expressions, I'm sure, were also about bitching about our day and expressing our emotions with one another. And then when I started to talk about Jesus, he stopped and he smiled at me, and his blind eye smiled, right? Like he smiled, like he smiled with a smile on his face and his eyes. But what I noticed is that the eye that was blind, that didn't see in that moment when I mentioned Jesus's name, and the man smiled, his dead eye or his blind eye twinkled or smiled, and I saw it and I felt it. And then I knew at that moment that that was a transition story, but it was more of a transition of me. Like I transformed, something in me changed, because here I thought that I was going to help him because I felt bad about how those people treated him and how long it took him to walk from one place to the next place. And he looked like he didn't have a lot, and I felt bad. And so I thought I was helping him. Right. And I'm sure like I did help him a little bit, but in our conversation, I realized that we showed up for each other, and something in me changed or settled deeper. Like I know we're all the same, but it went into my heart in a different way. And I don't know, his dead eye twinkled, you guys. It smiled at me, and I'm not kidding when I tell you that that really happened, not my imagination. And then he said thank you, and I said thank you to him. And he said, maybe I'll see you around sometime. And I said, maybe I'll see you around sometime. Um, and I think if we look around, and if I look around, I will see him again, because I think that was Jesus. I think that. So, because his eye twinkled, the blind one, it twinkled, it smiled at me, it changed. I talked to him for a good several minutes, and that eye never changed when he spoke about wanting a beer, when he spoke about the cars, when we were telling each other stories, his eye looked the same. It was a dead eye. And then when we started to talk about Jesus, it smiled. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great, great day. Thanks for stopping by and listening to my story. I probably took way too long to tell it, but I'm glad you stayed and listened. God bless you and have a great day. Stay blessed.